Saddle up, stove minders. We are on February 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day, and one of the coldest days, temperature-wise, of the winter for me personally. It's snowing right now. I'm on the porch. It's beautiful. But inside, the stove's been running all winter. A lot of residual heat going into the final week of the MLB offseason, the final week before training camp begins, and the final pieces are coming off the board. None bigger than third baseman Justin Turner, going back to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 2-year contract worth $34 million with a $14 million option for year 3, no buyout, but an $8 million signing bonus and escalators could push this contract north of $50 million in value. A hefty payday nonetheless for Justin Turner, who was the last face you remember from the 2020 season after his miraculous escape from quarantine inside Globe Life Fielder Park in Arlington, Texas. Remember, he tested positive for COVID, was taken out of the game in the middle of the game in the World Series, and then when his team won, he said, "Screw this. I'm getting out there to celebrate. Hey, listen, I've been the Dodgers' third baseman for 7 seasons now. I've taken this team to now the 3rd championship, and we finally won. Turner's been the only guy who's been hitting in October, and I'll get to that in a moment. I think most baseball fans were supportive of Turner's escape. Yes, so JT's first and the Dodgers' first championships in their 3rd trip. Basically, these two sides are so tied together, it's hard to imagine them parting, kind of like the Cubs and Anthony Rizzo or the Reds and Joey Votto. But I'm talking third baseman right now, and Turner was the top free agent at that position. A .302 hitter since joining the Dodgers, high on base of .382 and a .503 slugging just to drive the point home. That's over a 7-year period, yes. But there's been no sign of decline in Turner. He's putting up those sort of numbers every single season. A regular down ballot MVP candidate and not a bad fielder either. Furthermore, he's been the Dodgers' best, most consistent postseason hitter over this run they've had, which is key. Because if you're wondering why LA kept choking in October until 2020, it's partly the lackluster hitting and partly the poor game management and pitching change decisions. But Turner's playoff career slash is basically the same as his regular season numbers, 81 runs created in 72 games, so no surprises here at all. The best redhead in baseball held out all offseason to get that loyalty check, and it came in the form of $17 million a year at the age of 36. Pretty good. And that's on the most expensive team in the majors, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Lux tax payroll of, get this, $254.7 million US. That's over $40 million over the limit. They do not care. They were already over thanks to the $40 million a year man Trevor Bauer, a blockbuster signing, the most impactful of the winter, I'd say. An all-in moment for sure. Fresh blood for the clubhouse at a very high ceiling in what Bauer can do and has done most recently. Because, hey, it's hard to repeat, partially because the players who won that initial championship are not as hungry once they finally tasted glory. That is the World Series hangover to speak of. The Dodgers are the most well-run organization in professional baseball, and the franchise ownership is one of the wealthiest. They bought this club for over $2 billion back in 2012, I want to say. They told the luxury tax to stuff it for now, because all they need to do to avoid the worst penalties is unload $5 million before the end of the season. No worries and no surprises on bringing back a club cornerstone in Justin Turner. Let's talk about reunions. How about James Paxton, left-handed starting pitcher, returning to the Seattle Mariners on a 1-year contract, $8.5 million plus incentives. Paxton found his best success just down the highway and across the border from where he grew up, the Fraser River Delta. He pitched for the Mariners for his first 6 seasons, pitched well on a team that wasn't very good, so Seattle traded him to the Yankees pre-2018 for a 3-player package that included Justice Sheffield, who Pax will now join in the rotation. How about that? The Ladner Heron had a typically fine first season with New York as their number 3 starter, But like for many in 2020, a short, bitter campaign. Recency bias did its thing, and here he is, unable to get maybe the deal he wanted to on the market, now rejoining a ascending Mariners team after the Yankees decided to go with Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon in their rotation renovation. Paxton's career FIP and ERA is in the mid-threes. He strikes out more than a batter per inning. He's been consistent in regular seasons, and at the Mariners' home park, formerly Safeco Field, Paxton has pitched some of his best baseball in 300 innings of work. Love the sentiment here. The biggest upgrade by far this offseason for Jerry Dipoto, the usually wheeling and dealing Mariners GM. Yes, Paxton knows the DL, if you catch my drift. That's a bit of a red flag that I think also prevented him from getting a multi-year pact on the market. But the Mariners have stated, that they're fielding a six-man rotation this season. Seattle has some good pieces, some good young pieces. The AL West feels a little wild these days, and they really, really needed to get another starter besides Marco Gonzalez. Everybody wins. Mariners outbid the Mets for Paxton, meaning New York might be the favorite to land the top remaining free agent starters, either Jake Arrieta or Taijuan Walker, though the Mets have competition in the Twins, Cardinals, maybe the Phillies, and who knows who else. And how about this for a reunion? Chicago Cubs. Let's do a little Cubs cast here. The Cubs have signed right-handed starting pitcher Jake Arrieta. 1 year, $6 million. Well. I'm sure both sides are stoked in this deal. Let's be honest. The Cubs needed a low-cost starter, and Arrieta has been in decline since joining the Phillies in 2018. ERA and FIP up in the fours over that 3-year period. Virtually all his numbers got worse, which, to be fair, was bound to happen in some way. Under no circumstances would Arrieta repeat his otherworldly Cy Young winning season of 2015. Even in his final 2 years with the Cubs, which was 2016 and 17, he posted a more realistic 3.30 ERA, a 3.80 FIP, 1.146 WHIP, still allowing only some base runners. He was at least a number 3, if not better starter by the end of his first Cubs tenure. Jake the Snake seems like a perfect change of scenery candidate given the perennial disappointment that's been the Phillies, and returning to the friendly confines where fans and he have fond memories could give Arrieta the mental space to regenerate. Maybe get him back into Pilates, I don't know. Or, more realistically, with his velocity in free fall, he really is just a back-end starter these days, honestly. Okay, don't be fooled by nostalgia, Cubs fans. The NHL Blackhawks have pulled this shit too. Patrick Sharp, Andrew Shaw, Johnny Oduya, Brandon Saad. We don't care if these guys helped us win a title 5 years ago. They're not going to do much to help us win now. So, best of luck to you, Jake. It's nice to see you again, and we seriously needed a starting pitcher, but expectations are low. Let's continue on the Cubs cast a little bit. The Cubs are looking at a left-handed hitting second baseman. Highly specific, which gives you a pool of Daniel Descalso, no freaking thank you. Jason Kipnis, yeah, sure, you know what? He hit well last year. I think he likes playing for his hometown team. Bring him back. Eric Sogard, maybe. And Travis Shaw, maybe not. All right, let's talk Tampa Bay Rays for a little bit because they went out and signed a couple of starters, or at least a couple of pitchers, depending which way you look at it, since that is an unorthodox pitching staff. Starting with left-hander Rich Hill, coming in on a 1 year, $2.5 million pact. Dick Mountain, the soon 41-year-old hurler, is on to his 10th team in 17 big league seasons. Despite his age, his injury issues, and journeyman status, Hill has continued to pitch well when available. Just looking at his last 2 years with the Twins and Dodgers, a 2.68 ERA in 97-plus innings, albeit with a 4.06 FIP, respectable numbers in the strikeout and walk department. And that's all the Rays need, really. I mean, this team, led by Maverick manager Kevin Cash, does not give a damn about starting pitching conventions. They want to pull Hill in the third inning? Yeah, why not? That bullpen and whatever system they have for matching relievers to opposing batters in the best matches possible has been a winning formula, World Series notwithstanding. Basically, Hill's lack of certainty in pitching 130 innings in a season or going deep into games is irrelevant for this ball club. Rays needed a cheap starter to plug into a rotation down its two best arms, Charlie Morton and Blake Snell, and here comes Rich Hill. And here comes Collin McHugh, right-hander, coming in on a 1-year, $1.8 million deal also to the Devil Rays. McHugh has been a solid mid to back of the rotation arm for the Astros in the recent past, but in the last few seasons, he transitioned into a swingman / long reliever type. And in that role, 2018 and 19, he posted an ERA and FIP in the threes, striking out over 29% of batters and limiting base runners to a whip below 1.1. McHugh also threw 70-plus innings in both those seasons, but in 2020, the elbow issues that chased him out of starting pitching were an obstacle to any in-game innings when he was technically on the Red Sox. The Rays certainly hope he's healthy, as McHugh is the sort of plug-and-play hurler that the organization loves right now. So they were pretty quiet for most of the winter in adding starting pitching. They were generally just subtracting, although the acquisition of pitching prospect Luis Patino from the Padres in that Blake Snell trade is something to watch. Maybe Patino can work his way into some time pitching for the Rays, but at least they have some veteran backup in Hill and McHugh. Just going to breeze through some rumors here. I'm not going to cover the Padres signing Mark Melancon, partially because I'm just kind of tired of talking about the Padres, and also because the salary hasn't been released as per that deal, but a good signing for the Padres. Jackie Bradley Jr. is the best remaining position player free agent. Word is he's demanding a 4 or 5 year contract, which is several years higher than what the minders over at MLB Trade Rumors predicted. JBJ has choices. The Red Sox, Astros, Giants, Mets, and maybe others are still in. Let's go, Stove Miners. I'm going back inside. It's cold.